Non-stop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com. Purple Daily, presented by Surly Brewing Company.
Happy weekend to you. Vikings Vent Line. Another edition here. Declan Goff here to take us through Vikings Vent Line. Of course, if this is the first time you're discovering Vent Line, or Purple Daily for that matter, hit the subscribe button right here on this YouTube channel. We are a daily Minnesota Vikings show, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We provide Vikings content to you. Vikings Vent Line is always powered by our friends at TCL. Enjoy more of what you love with TCL. And of course, Surly Brewing. Try the Surly Furious. Try the variety packs. Go get a Grapefruit Supreme. There's plenty of options. Surly Brewing is a proud sponsor and our presenting sponsor here of Purple Daily, and we thank them for powering this episode of Vikings Vent Line. Of course, Vent Line exists during the Vikings season. We like to bring on guests with us, with Mackie, Judd, and myself to talk about everything Purple from the game, but we also bring Vikings Vent Line on during the offseason to talk about offseason topics, whether it's the draft or offseason moves. I got my guys Joseph and Nick, who are about to join me here in just a little bit to break things down with the first month of free agency and what to expect from the Vikings going ahead. If you'd like to get in on a future episode of Vikings Vent Line, shoot me an email. It's scrolling across the bottom of the screen for our video audience. It's vikingsventline@gmail.com. I got a list of guests that are in queue for future episodes, but if you'd like to get in on a future one, just shoot me an email, vikingsventline@gmail.com. I will gladly get you in queue here. And like I said, I like to do this at least once a week here on the Purple Daily YouTube channel. We do this during the season. It's one of our most fun and interactive shows in all of Minnesota sports, or on this YouTube community that's very broadened as well. I'm excited to talk to all of the Vikings fans that like to join us here on Purple Daily. All right. Enough of the pleasantries, enough of the introductions. Let's get our two guys on here. We got Nick and we have Joseph. Nick said he's based in North Carolina. Joseph, are you in Minnesota? Where are you based at, man?
I'm in Canada, Edmonton.
You're in Canada, Edmonton. I was just telling Nick off the mic. It blows my mind, dude, at how many Vikings fans exist outside of the Twin Cities. So I've grown up here in Minneapolis and St. Paul my entire life. And in the last 2 years, since we really started Vikings Vent Line of making this a YouTube and video show, discovering all these Vikings fans outside of Minnesota is like the coolest part for me. So we got a dude from Edmonton, got a guy from North Carolina. We've had people on this show from Australia and Europe, for God's sake. So this Vikings nation and community is crazy.
Yeah.
Pretty nuts, dude.
Can I say one thing? Can I say one thing?
Yeah, of course.
I've been watching you guys for so long now, and Josh Zogard, man, and you guys keep it honest, you guys keep it real, and I love it. And your show is like the best show. Like my whole family, my kids, my wife, we all tune in, we watch it, and it's awesome. I just like hearing the truth about the team and everything about the team. It just feels so real, and I love that.
Hey, Joseph, we really appreciate that. Joseph's not related. I have no relationship to Joseph, by the way. This is just a nice plug from him up there in Canada. We appreciate your family tuning into us, man. Is there question for you, quick, Joseph, too? Is there a Vikings bar? Where do you go to watch the Vikings? Like, can you get them at a local establishment, or do you subscribe to a ticket package? What do you do to watch the Vikings?
Oh man, I have I brought in like a nice TV and everything just to I tune in Vikings throughout the off season. Sometimes we go to the bar. Like me, I have I'm originally from Winnipeg, but I have a family and friends that I got a friend that is a New York Giants fan. I got a friend that is an Eagle fan. So we get together, and it's just Joseph amazing,
Yeah.
Nice.
So. Nice. I love it. I love to hear it. Connection broke up there a little bit there for you, Joseph, but I think you're back now. But yeah, it's pretty crazy, man, just seeing all the Vikings fans and community all over the place. And Nick, I know you said you're originally from Philly. You're now down in North Carolina. And you and I were emailing because you obviously watched our Kwesi episode the other day about trusting the process. And you know that term very well, being from Philadelphia, and you say, I'm in Kid Jersey. Oh my God, he's got a Kid Jersey. That's incredible. And you emailed me saying, I know all about the trust the process. So as someone who grew up in Philly and is clearly a diehard Sixers fan, when you hear Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah talk about his relationship with Sam, and just this competitive rebuild and the trust in the process, what kind of goes through your mind?
So I love the Kwesi aspect, but I don't trust the ownership, because I definitely feel like keeping Kirk would not have been, what Hinkie would have done. What would Hinkie do is my big saying around here. But yeah, so I think ownership needs to, step out of the way and let Kwesi do what he's going to do. I mean, you're talking about Hinkie. He's the guy who traded Michael Carter-Williams after he won Rookie of the Year. The next year he was gone because he wasn't good enough to, win a title in Hinkie's eyes. So definitely, big smile on my face when I heard that. And, hopefully ownership can just, take a step back and let Kwesi do what he needs to do.
And so far, Nick, have you liked what Kwesi has done as a Vikings fan? I know these had limited resources, but just his first month in the job, what do you think he's done so far?
It's so. I mean, I think he's kind of has his hands tied behind his back a little bit with, having to go semi all in this year. But definitely after the season, I feel like, unless they make a deep playoff run, I think, people are going to be, moved off from, Harrison Smith, Eric Kendricks. Barr's already gone. So I think after 1 year, if it doesn't go, deep playoff run, I think he's going to be able to, clean house a little bit. And Kirk's contract isn't too bad because it's only 2 years. So hopefully, if it doesn't go well this year, draft somebody in 2023, whether it's the Ohio State guy, the Alabama guy, but maybe use, what the Chiefs did with Smith to Mahomes, I think could be a solid transition from, where we're at with Kirk to, a springboard to the future.
So it kind of feels like, too, that you just really see the same similarities, right, between what the Sixers are tried to do with trusting the process, them getting Embiid, and then I know they got rid of Simmons now, but it's clearly worked for them to a degree. Do you feel like it's kind of the Vikings are on that similar path?
Not yet. Now, if they would have traded Kirk and, cut some of the veterans, I feel like definitely would have been on that track. But, keeping Kirk and running it back is not, the route that I think Kwesi wants to go down, and definitely not one I think he would have gone down. So hopefully after this year, clear the road a little bit and, let Kwesi get to work.
Totally. Joseph, what do you think, man? With watching Kwesi here, the first month of the job, have you liked his move? What type of grade and what do you think Kwesi's been able to do with having a stamp on the Vikings roster in the first month of the season?
Man, truth be told, when they hired Kwesi, I was excited because I'm finally we got something new coming in the building and everything. But since then, I just feel like there's too many voices in the room that is not allowing him to be able to do what he wants to do, put his stamp on the team and build his own team. Build a team that he wants to. They've been talking a lot about collaboration and everything, but I just feel like it's just too much on a collaboration situation, because right now, I see it as running it back. It's everybody's a lot of people say, oh, it's a good idea and stuff, but it's not a good idea because we've been in this situation for 3 to 4 years now, and the same situation consistently over and over and over. And even our new coach, KOC, he was coaching Kirk Cousins back in Washington.
Yep.
Yeah, back in Washington, and it's not like he got that productive out of him that he thinks that he can get now. And Kirk Cousins is in his 30s. Kirk Cousins is gonna be Kirk Cousins. I know he thinks he can change him, but I don't see that happening, because at the end of the day, I've watched Viking football for so long already, and I've there's one thing I've noticed about Kirk Cousins. It's not I don't have anything against him. I think he's a good player, but he doesn't take ownership for his mistakes. He's always pointing fingers, somewhere else and doing all that stuff. And I don't think that's a leader. I don't think that's a captain. And I just think right now we need to stop buying into this whole fantasy situation about, oh, the Vikings can run this back and they're going to make it into the Super Bowl playoff or whatever. I think they're going to be okay. I don't think they're going to be totally that good. But for our GM, I like the move with signing Smith, and I think that's a good move so far. But I just think they need to give him the green light to just put his stamp on his team instead of everybody just trying to put 2 cents into the whole situation.
Yeah, Joseph, I think you echo a lot of Vikings fans that say that, hey, it's great. They're going to lean into offense a little bit more here. They got rid of Mike Zimmer. Kevin O'Connell should hopefully unlock the offense a bit, but how much more can you unlock from a guy who's 34 years old and has been in the league for almost 10 years now? And I think that's the big interesting part that we're going to figure out if we have egg in our face and we're wrong on that. But it seems a little too far-fetched to just run everything back. Maybe you plug in a couple holes here at the nose tackle and a linebacker, but it seems a little far-fetched to go from a team that's always been flirting and fringing around 500 and then just changing a coach and just small tweaks make them go from 7-8 wins to 10, 11, 12 wins. It is an interesting part. Nick, what do you think of Kirk Cousins, man? Are you a fan of him? Do you think there is more to his game? What's your overall view of Kirk?
Up and down, depending on the week. Overall, I feel like we have to move on. I don't think there's much more there. I mean, he's what, 34? I don't think at 34 he can grow too much further. I mean, having Zim as a coach didn't help, but at the same point, I mean, you're paid however much, 30 million a year, you have to take ownership of it. And, I feel like, there's times when he's just I just work here guy. So I feel like you can't win
Yeah.
with that. And, just to get back to Hinkie really quickly, in the 10 seasons prior to him being, the Sixers GM, they finished between 6th and the 9th seed 8 times. So 80% of the time they were, not good enough to get a high draft, or not good enough to, make a playoff run, but also not bad enough to get a top pick. And, since they tanked for 3-4 years, maybe, they've been a title contender ever since. And, it's going to continue in the future with Embiid and Harden and, and suffer for, a couple of years and then, have the future set up for you. So I think that's the route to go.
Yeah, it's kind of a funky situation to be in if you're a Vikings fan, because now they're picking at 12 again. And yeah, it's not in the top 10. They went to the playoffs in 2019, right? And they were able to get Justin Jefferson, which was great from the Bills trade. But in general, they've mostly been picking between that 12th to 20 spot. And there isn't many studs. And actually, when you look at the first round whiffs that they've had outside of JJ, it's been pretty alarming, right? And so you're not going to find a franchise-altering player most of the time in that range, and that's the rock and a hard place you can be in between as a Vikings fan. You're not bad enough to be the Jets or the Lions, and of course you don't historically want to be those franchises. But if you get the right draft capital, I mean, look at Miami, right? Miami's had a boatload of first-round picks. They just mortgaged them. They're on the come up, and they plug in a couple receivers, and we'll see if it works for them. You definitely want to either be like that, but not being stuck in the middle, which is where the Vikings have been for the better part of the last 10 to 15 years. I am curious in your guys' thoughts on what they should do at the draft. So they're slotted to pick 12th again. They obviously need cornerback help. Mock draft season is in full swing. You got people who are saying they should trade back, maybe even trade up. The quarterbacks haven't really been set in stone yet, and with Malik Willis and Kenny Pickett being the top 2 guys off the board, but no one really knowing where they're going to go, it's kind of an interesting spot to be in because there isn't that dynamite quarterback draft prospect that there usually is. Joseph, I'll start with you. What do you want to see the Vikings do at the draft this season?
Man, they should just draft a cornerback. I think that's what they should go at 12, and I don't think they should trade back or anything like that. I just think they should just go and get the guy in the 12th pick with a cornerback, because that's what we need right now, and we just need to build that momentum up. And just further to that is just my concern here is because I remember when last year's draft, I remember the Vikings could have drafted Field, right? And they didn't get him. The Bears got him. But I was just thinking, and it got me thinking really hard. Like, what if we could have drafted Field? Like, will Field would have been on the bench, sitting and wasting his talent like that? Because I know for a fact that if New England, let's say for example, if New England would have drafted Kellen Mond, I know Kellen Mond would have been starting and showing his talent in New England right now with the Patriots, and he would have been doing. I'm pretty sure he would have been doing really good there. So us drafting Kellen Mond, I was excited about our situation, and then now seeing him just his talent and everything going to waste. And we have a new offensive-minded coach here that is basically not having to look at him as that guy, and us bringing in Sean Mannion as a backup quarterback doesn't make no sense at all. I'm just really confused about this whole situation, because I'm why get a young guy like that? And I know he needs time to develop and everything, but why get him and just waste his talent like that? And just nobody knows how good he's gonna be, or nobody know how good he is, because nobody have seen him actually put his potential and his stamp on on the game or anything like that. So I'm just looking at the whole situation. I'm saying, man, we should not have drafted a quarterback if we were just gonna make him just sit and not do nothing and just be that guy on the bench, and then the new the new team that we brought in, just look at him as that kind of person too, and just bring in a guy who is just so bad, because man, that Green Bay game was horrible. I know what's called Kirk Cousins went down and everything like that, but that was no excuse to not to have that game be a epic primetime game and everything like that. It was a disaster, and I don't know what the new regime seen in Sean Mannion, but I just think, man, that's just, I don't know, man. I'm so confused.
You have a good go ahead. Go ahead.
Are you
Nick.
Implying that Clint was a bad OC?
Huh?
Are you implying that Clint was a bad OC?
I'm not saying he's a bad. No, I'm not saying he's a bad OC.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm
That's
just saying this is his first time ever going to have like a team that he's going to lead, right? But for me,
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
like, I don't know, man. It just there's a lot of question marks.
You're playing a good game of what if, right? If they had drafted Justin Fields, because I think it changes the entire trajectory of where this team would be at this point in
Yep.
the offseason. They probably would have traded Kirk Cousins. They probably would have leaned all in on being in on him. And instead, you take Kellen Mond, who some people thought could even be better than someone like a Justin Fields or a Mac Jones. And instead, he's just kind of sitting there at the wanted poster of, well, where the heck has he been?
Yeah.
He was inactive for the majority of the season. He had to be the backup in Green Bay because Kirk went down with COVID, and then now he's just buried. You bring back Sean Mannion again just because Kirk likes him and it's comfortable. It's the entire dynamic is really strange. And Nick, what do you think, man? What do you think of the whole Kellen Mond versus Justin Fields situation from a year ago? And also, what do you think the Vikings should do in the draft this season too?
Yeah, I didn't mind what we did last year. I mean, obviously, we needed to fortify the O-line a little bit, especially at left tackle. So I was fine trading back and getting Darisaw. And then even the Mond pick I thought was decent. But considering where the coaching staff was and, their inability to care about offense or any quarterback play, I felt like that was, one hurdle that they had to overcome. So, Mond was set up to fail from day one. So hopefully with KOC, he gets some sort of a shot. And then going forward this year, I think they should just go best player available, unless it's like a position where you're young and set. Like if there's an offensive tackle, I wouldn't go for it because we have O'Neal and Darisaw. But pretty much anywhere else, I would just go best player available. And I do like the kid from Iowa. And I know people have mentioned that 12's too high to draft a center. But I mean, when we're in week 5 and Bradbury's getting forklifted backwards, I don't think we'd be saying that. So I think, yeah, best player available, unless it's like a tackle or, somewhere we're already set and young.
Yeah, I think best player available, mostly on the defensive side of the ball, seems really likely there. You bring up a good point. They're probably not going to take a tackle. I think a reach. I have Garrett Bradbury syndrome, where like even taking Tyler Lindenbaum freaks me out. Like it just taking a center with that high of a capital pick to me just does not seem like the wisest way to go. And you need more help on cornerback. And you need potentially more players on defense still. I would be more interested in doing something like that for this year. But yeah, going back again to just that Justin Fields pick, they wanted to do it. And then where was the disconnect? Was it Rick, who clearly I think wasn't interested in doing it, but probably Mike Zimmer and the coaching staff were like, no, don't do that at all. They were close to pulling the trigger on that. And now Justin Fields, and he could fail in Chicago, obviously. Who knows what will happen there, but they have a blueprint. They have a rookie quarterback, and starting next season, they're going to have like $100+ million in cap space, so they can really start to build this thing out. And Ryan Poles, who also coincidentally was the runner-up or was even maybe the favorite to get the Vikings job, is running the show there in Chicago. So I think Vikings fans are always going to have a weird sort of a what-if situation when it comes to Justin Fields, watching him in Chicago or wherever he may be. I am curious your guys' thoughts if the Vikings can contend in 2022. I think most people still have them as that fringe playoff team, with them being 7 teams in the NFC. Will the Vikings contend in 2022, or are they just going to be middling? Will they regress? Is Kevin O'Connell going to unlock the team and get them to the next step and them being forefront of the NFC North? Joseph, I'll start with you. What do you think? Can the Vikings contend this season?
Man, my hopes are not high, man. I don't have high hopes on this season. I feel like we've been lied to so many times already, and I just feel like the way things are looking right now, I don't think like a lot of Vikings fans should have high hopes on like this season unless something changes or unless something like different happens. But for me personally, I just wanted to see a lot of change happen, like during this offseason, because like last year, like watching like thing went down, like the whole players movement, the way the players were things were just different. It was bad. And just by Kirk Cousins getting re-signed, I think like Justin Jefferson, like, the best player on the team, like you think like he would tweet out and say, oh man, like let's freaking go, like, our guys here. But I don't think Justin Jefferson is really like huge on Kirk Cousins like that, whatever. So there's a lot of question mark to it. I'm not really high on it, and I hope things goes good, but I'm not really high on it.
Yeah, you bring up a good point about Justin Jefferson, that he's been a good soldier, right? Like he's not going to say anything damning about his quarterback, but when you listen to him talk about Joe Burrow and you talk about the high-profile guys, there's definitely a little bit more pep in his step when he's talking about them. And with Kirk, he just knows, hey, he's my quarterback, and Jefferson's had 2 great seasons, so his quarterback isn't hindering him necessarily, but there is something more that he probably can recognize that, hey, if we have the right guy in here, this offense isn't just going to be good and it's going to be fun. It could be next level and could be trending with the times that is the NFL being a pass-heavy league. And keeping Jefferson happy is huge. With now these wide receivers getting huge contracts, I mean, next year, this time, when you're going to start the contract talks with Jefferson, I mean, my God, what is he going to ask for? I mean, he's going to make a case. And no, I have been the best receiver the last few years. Where's my payday? So that's going to be a interesting conundrum for the Vikings in 2022. Nick, what do you think, man? Do you think the Vikings can contend in 2022? Or are they just still stuck in that middle rut?
Yeah, I think they'll be in the middle. I see maybe 9-10 wins at most, maybe a repeat of 2019 where, they snuck in and maybe pull an upset. But I think that's wishful thinking. I think they have too many holes. I think defensively in the secondary, there are holes everywhere. Offensive lines don't look like it's getting fixed. So I don't know. We'll see. I think as long as Kirk's a quarterback, they're never going to be a serious contender. So hopefully one good thing, if they do, fall maybe pick 15 next year, they could, tie that to a few more picks and trade up to get one of the young quarterbacks. I know the kid from Alabama and Ohio State are projected to be up there. So that's kind of what my hope is. I don't want to, a complete train wreck and, submarine O'Connell's first season and, damage the culture and everything. So hopefully they can be, 7, 8, 9 wins, somewhere in that range if they're not going to make a deep run and, put themselves in position to, maybe trade up in next year's draft for a quarterback. Because until you have a quarterback, you don't have a chance.
Probably barring an injury to Kirk Cousins, right? This team is foolproof of being bad. Like right. no matter what.
Yeah, I don't think that would be the worst thing, honestly. I know you don't root for injuries, but I mean, if he would go down, there's the built-in excuse of why they won 4 games or whatever. So
yeah,
but we'll see.
Absolutely, yeah. It's if they lose Kirk, they are going to be a 4-win team. That's Kirk's gravitational pull of who he is, of being a near 500 quarterback, and he is a good quarterback. Kirk's good. I think there's a lot of people who listen and consume Purple Daily or maybe hate watch us or watch us from afar that think you guys hate Kirk and you don't think he's good. No, Kirk is good. He's just not good enough to have you compete for Super Bowls. That's the argument. And his contract hinders you from adding those players. Yes, Za'Darius Smith getting under here for $3 million is huge. I know they just signed the cornerback from the Panthers, Chandon Sullivan, right before we started recording. So, yes, they have a nice corner, and they bring in Harrison Phillips, but it hinders you from being big spenders in free agency and making big additions to a defense that has holes all over it. So I think they're in the middle. I think they're going to be potentially a 7 or 6 seed. I think Green Bay, they might regress a little bit after their regular season success, but I still look at them as the favorites in the North. And yeah, the Vikings are probably the second best team unless Justin Fields and the Bears just absolutely go off. Detroit's so far away still from being good that it should be the Packers division still, but I think they'll most likely still be kind of stuck in that middle and competing for a wild card spot. I always give everyone to give kind of one last take or one last thing you want to get off your chest here in Vikings Vent Line. Joseph, I'll start with you. Is there anything else you want to get off your chest here as a Vikings fan up in Canada?
Man, I'm just sick and tired of the excuses, man. Like, to be honest with you, like fans, like real fans that watch football knows the game of football, and fans that just watch like players and say, oh, that guy's my favorite player. He cannot get traded. He cannot go. Like this year, there should be no more excuses, man. Like, what is injury? That's why you gotta have a team that no matter what, if you have a starting like as a great starting 50 man, you have to have like a whole structure of team of players that won't, when somebody go down, the next man up is ready to go and like fill in that gap. And I just feel like the Vikings have been making so much excuses. What is offensive line? What is like coaching? What is this? What is that? Like no more excuses, man. It's either like we're going all in to go and win it, or we're just like talking and making like fans like buy into the whole situation, because like a lot of fans have been sucked into the lies and deceit, and I just feel like they get caught up in that situation. And I watch a lot of fans on Ventline, I mean on you guys' show that come out and be saying all kind of crazy things, and I just shake my head because I'm like, man, like are we watching the game of football? Are we just watching like this person, Kirk Cousins, is the best quarterback? Oh, if he leaves, oh my God, we're gonna be so bad. If not, like the whole process is being able to like build something that's gonna be fun to watch, that's gonna be like entertaining, that's not gonna be boring, that's not gonna be like, oh my gosh, like, what's gonna happen next? Because if we have a great defense this season and our offense is not that good, then there's a problem. If we have a good offense and our defense is not that good, then it's a problem. Then people are going to say, oh my God, it was the defensive fault. It was the offensive fault. It has to be like equal. Everything has to be like perfect. because if everything's not perfect, I don't want to hear no more excuses of Kirk Cousins fans or people saying, "Oh my God, like Kirk Cousins was playing good, but it was this, this, nah." It's either all or nothing. Like that's how I feel. Like, you know, so.
Amen, Joseph. So that's actually pretty hilarious because it's a conundrum that Vikings fans face. Because and it's not Vikings fans, it's Kirk fans. It's Kirk fans of saying, well, like, you don't care about the Vikings? No, we do care about the Vikings. And if you're gonna be a Kirk fan, are you gonna follow him where he goes next? We want this team to win a Super Bowl, not just attach ourselves to a QB who's good, because this team has lacked a franchise guy for basically since Dante left. They've had so many obviously starting quarterbacks in the last 20 years. And that's a conundrum that I think a lot of Vikings fans, and it's a misconception of Kirk Cousins fans that they make about the other opposing Vikings fans that are in their community of, no, we just want to see this team win a Super Bowl. And for right now, this team hasn't been good enough. Nick, what about you, man? Anything else you want to get off your chest before we wrap here?
Yeah, just a message to Mark, Ziggy, just get out of the way. let Kwesi go to work. I think he's smart enough. He knows what he's doing. You know, I think they have a bright young offensive coach. I think, you know, the building blocks are there with Jefferson, Darius Hall-O'Neal. I feel like they can really, you know, make a run at it if ownership just, you know, gets out of the way and let the football people make the football decisions. So, and I'm fully on board to trust that process.
Yeah, trust the process. And as collaboration can be good, but it seems like there's too many cooks in the kitchen, like Joseph said off the top too. It just, hey, Kwesi, just make your damn decisions, dude. You don't have to always go to ownership. I know, you know, he said he called the Vikings the Wilfs baby. Yes, they're the owners, but also Wilfs, just back up, man. Let Kwesi, let KOC just do their jobs. You don't have to ask permission for it.
The kid's got to grow up sometime.
Yeah, seriously. Absolutely. Let him do it. And if Kwesi shipwrecks it, he shipwrecks it. You start over again in 3 years, right? Like if he's absolutely a disaster person, you can just start over. That's the beauty of the NFL. It's not going to hinder you from also starting over. Joseph, Nick, appreciate you guys for coming on Vikings Vent Line today. If anyone else who's watching this show or listening to this show, Apple, Spotify, ScoreNorth.com, wanted to come on a future episode of Vikings Vent Line, shoot me an email. It's VikingsVentLine@gmail.com. Purple Daily, Minnesota Vikings coverage 7 days a week on this YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button. We'll be talking to you soon.